would you come back?
Okay, so she sends me the forecast, 3 to 5 inches. Now, make sure you got groceries and stuff. I don't care about that.
What, she's in Florida and she sends you the forecast
Oh, yeah.
up here?
We gotta run the John
And
Ingle on
she
that.
sends me this.
She's at the pool, right?
So then I said to her, oh, enough of the snow. Then she sends me sunglasses.
She's worried about you getting groceries. Tell her that's why they have restaurants.
Is it snowing yet? She wants to know.
Tell her to come back and see.
Yeah, really.
That's what I said, come back and see for yourself.
She's crazy. That's more fun here.
We haven't seen the forecast today, he says, I knew I should have left yesterday.
Flies.
Yeah, he flies.
Where?
Yeah, he flies. He's at me 20 minutes away from
Hello, hello.
New Year? I haven't seen anything. It's a big problem working.
Yeah, it's like a duster.
Yeah, Somerset's supposed to be one.
Well, Somerset always gets 93 done.
Yeah.
Less credits.
Yeah, he sure is. So there's the stuff that is.
Yeah, oh, Somerset, say, look at that.
He's talking to me again.
Yeah,
It's all area and stuff.
yeah, it was tough getting on my plan. I passed some of the others while I brought the waste van. But, I've still got it.
I mean,
Coming up Ward Drive.
traffic was just bad. I mean, like the state roads are good, but it was backed up. Already over past Sherman's.
Was it?
Robert Station. figured it out.
Good. Good opening. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I went up to the bus. Get out there. Christmas. Well, the whole,
And then it was cool. Probably 150 kids sitting on my lap one. I don't want to dodge them all.
Sneezing on it again.
There it goes.
But it's worth it.
You almost should wear a mask, huh? Santa mask.
I think my wife started to think that I planned that then because the day that her family's coming over and there's all this work to do the couple days before and I'm laying in the front recliner sneezing and wheezing.
Find out at work.
Yeah, she's gonna catch on eventually.
How you doing, Jeff?
Are you serious?
What?
County meeting. When was everybody supposed to make that? How's that? I guess I have them.
Oh, but you would pay for it.
Did you get an answer?
Yes, I did.
That's all I had.
What's that? What's the date?
Second or third Wednesday. Freaking busy. It's 10 or 11. I think it's 10, so this they all got a raise this year. Yeah, that would be, salary.
Hi, Dawn. How are you?
Here?
Yeah. You too.
It's a little nice to find out this.
I thought it was 87.
It's starting the traffic up.
John.
Second, I think. No, he sent an email and said he was stuck in traffic out there. I mean, he may show up because people were driving like idiots out there because but it's just snow.
Where's he coming from?
I would think Maine Road, so.
He works at the Heinz Company.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Oh, okay.
So,
I mean, he would be traveling Maine Road, so.
Maybe. I left me to see if you're playing catch up.
I did that for 8 years.
I had a debate on.
New Year, huh? What's that? It's in the new year, huh?
Tough crowd.
I had a debate on that road.
You'd probably miss him now.
You're right, I probably will.
Okay, he mustered to get out.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, probably should.
I didn't think it'd be too crowded.
Hello. Once you get done, I'll go back. How you doing? Yeah.
Mine's finally starting to go.
It takes a while. You get your flu shot?
That's weeks. Oh, it's been.
Yeah.
Like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Since December 3rd.
Yeah, when you got a month.
Yeah.
We'll see, I'll make sure I get my.
Oh, Brucey wrote in the previous year.
I think it's nice. Yeah, I think I read for it. Plus, I have kids.
I'd like to call a special meeting of the North Huntington Township Board of Commissioners for Thursday, January 5th, 2017, 6:30 p.m. To order, roll call, name, Shepherd.
Commissioner Harold.
Here.
Commissioner Hines. Commissioner Burkini.
Here.
Commissioner Gray.
Here.
Commissioner Facenda.
Here.
Commissioner Sarah.
Here.
And Commissioner Martina.
Here. Everybody please rise to the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If there are any citizens who would like to speak tonight, please sign the book at the podium. Let the record show there are no citizens input. Official meeting discussion topic. Andrew, second.
Thank you. The only item we have on for tonight's special meeting is action to approve the ASME labor contract. We were considering a contract with a start date of January 1st of this year, running through December 31st of 2021. So that's open for discussion and consider the potential for a motion for approval.
I'll make a motion to approve the contract.
I'll second it.
Discussion.
Well, the question would be, I would say, is as the board knows, there was some question on one provision in the contract that was outstanding from the December meeting, and it was related to emergency provisions that were included in the contract. And at that meeting, the board tabled the contract to get potential reconsideration from the union concerning that matter. Everybody knows the information that I forwarded on to them for consideration, the language. Afterward, Commissioner Martino sent an email to the board, I believe it was beginning of this week, considering this contract without that provision in there at all. So I would say that whoever's making a motion for approval in a second needs to be clear what they're making a motion on. I don't make an assumption that the remainder of the contract is acceptable, unless for some reason now there's a concern from any board members about other provisions. But at the meeting in December, the only concern that I believe was raised was the one item that I just mentioned. So I would just recommend it be clarified so everybody knows what they're voting on.
But the issue that was raised in December was not the entire provision. It was 2 lines of it at the end. I raised that concern about contacting the union and scheduling a meeting or a union official mandating them be available. Those 2 lines, in my opinion, were to be stricken, but then it seems the whole provision was stricken regarding emergencies, a declaration of emergency and what could happen during that. And I think the first part of it should have remained in there. And I think there should have been more discussion of it if there was going to be the whole thing stricken and then voted on it. To my knowledge, when we left the December meeting, it was just the intent to get rid of the last 2 lines. In fact, you contacted me about it, John, and I sent the email back, my original email that specifically said the 2 lines that I had a problem with.
That's correct.
So now the whole emergency provision has been taken out, and I think that's a mistake.
Was that provision always in the language from before?
No, it
No,
wasn't.
it's new. The whole,
It's new language, and I
Put
asked,
it in here then. I don't think we even talked about that.
we did. I mean, the emergency language, when we talked about it, wasn't specific, meaning the actual words. It was more of a general concept of having some language in the contract to deal with emergency situations. And we didn't have many proposals for the contract, if the board recalls. That was one of the ones we had. As time went on, we worked on individual language, specific language. And when that came back to the entire board, there was some concern with it. Rich raised it at the December meeting. So I think that's what transpired. He's correct that his proposal, his recommended language was to just eliminate one or two sentences out of the language. And afterwards, as you all know, Commissioner Martinez sent a follow-up email to that concerning the entire provision. So that's where we are. I mean, it just needs to be clear what you're voting on.
like you said a minute ago, we didn't ask for much in this contract, right?
There were not many proposals by the township.
Right. So what did we get if we don't get this?
I'd have to look through the entire contract, Rich, to know, but I mean, there were not many proposals on the township side, there were a few.
And what was highlighted, I don't want to say what did we give away, but what did we negotiate to benefit the employees? Wage increases?
Oh, yes,
Some other.
benefits,
Benefits?
yes.
And management brought nothing. And I think Dave just asked, where did this proposal come from? Where did the language come from? The new proposal that we're talking about, emergency services.
You mean what we had talked about in December?
Yeah, what was originally on the contract?
Well, it came from us, it came from me. I mean, it actually came, it was my recommendation to include that language in the contract. Not that specific language, but language in general to provide the township some flexibility in the event of an emergency. That's where the idea came from.
And why did you see that necessary?
Well, I just thought it made sense. We actually looked at doing it in both the ASME contract and the police contract, which we were negotiating earlier this year also, just to provide us more flexibility. In an emergency, you want as much flexibility as possible.
I agree.
John, question for you. If there is an emergency in the township, 9 out of 10 times the road department's probably going to be out anyways. Is that correct?
I think depending on the emergency, but more likely than not, the
We're going to need
emergency,
something from the road department.
yeah, it's unlikely they're not going to be working. It would be unlikely.
Right.
In a lot of our employees, of a lot of the departments would be. Again, depending on the emergency, but it's quite possible we'd have the majority of our staff working in an emergency.
It's like we get bad storms or things like that, and guys are out for trees down and so on and so
Sure.
forth. So I don't think it needs to be in there myself, and I'll make that motion that we eliminate both the paragraphs out of it. It's up to Dwayne if he wants to say.
I believe there was some emails flying back and forth, and I believe Tony sent an email that stated that about taking the whole thing up.
That's correct.
And I believe some of the board responded it was okay with them, some didn't have a problem. Now we're here tonight and we're having a problem.
Maybe there was something misconstrued in the emails too, because as far as I knew, that was only as far as the meeting date.
I thought people just responded to make the meeting.
Right.
That's how I read the emails.
Right.
I didn't really read any responses on Tony's recommendation, good or bad, just I didn't really read any, but maybe there was some that I didn't see.
Yeah, I thought, at least my response was, it works for me, meeting the meeting date, to discuss it, because I figured, at the time, I was under the impression that it was approved by the union, or at least discussed as it was presented in December, the intent. I didn't know it had changed. Had I known that at the time, I would have responded, no, I don't see the point in meeting, or at least got on the record as being opposed to the meeting to vote on something with the whole thing stricken, the whole paragraph.
Tony or John, did anybody talk to ASME, Representative from ASME?
I mean, I think Tony did. I know Tony met with LaVon to talk about this.
Right.
Was there actually a formal negotiation? Were you involved, John, or was?
No.
No, we just discussed. We just discussed it, that's all. What was the issue? The issue was the two statements that you discussed, the two bond statements.
I'm not sure I understand why we're here then. If there was no negotiation and
It was just a talk, that was all. There was no negotiation with taking it out or whatever. That was my decision, because I knew you had a problem with the last two sentences of the contract, because you'd like to have those deleted.
right.
And I figured, okay, well, maybe we just delete the whole thing. That was just a recommendation on my part. Okay. I know you didn't care for the last two statements,
Right.
which had to do with contacting the union representative in time of emergency.
Right.
And after, since we didn't get a chance to really discuss it at the meeting, I have to agree with you, because we ended up tabling it, so we couldn't discuss it any further. And I said, well, if that's an issue, maybe we just delete the whole paragraph.
Well, maybe we should have had some negotiation from John. I mean, who's the bargaining committee on behalf of the township? John and Bruce? I mean, they weren't involved in the talk at all. We didn't discuss anything in executive session. To me, the matter's still not right for voting. I'll make a motion to table, pending us meeting again and discussing it in executive session, as the negotiation would be.
I'm against table. I think that we talked about in December, it was,
Wait a minute, we've got a motion on the floor to table. You have a second?
That's correct.
See, no second.
Just for the record, could you, Tony, maybe read the section for John?
Are you saying the entire paragraph line?
Yeah, declare emergency, that seems to be where the problem.
I'll read it because it's.
The last two sentences had to do with the union.
well, folks, the whole paragraph was put in here, then we need to hear the whole paragraph.
I'll read the entire paragraph, just so that that's all the new language. This is new, this is called the,
When you get to the last two sentences, pause and say, all right, here's the last two sentences.
I'll do that. In the event of a declared emergency, that being defined as a sudden unforeseen event which requires immediate action to protect lives and or property, the township shall not be bound by the following limitations of this agreement: scheduling, job assignment, and or subcontracting limitations. If an emergency is declared, it is the intent of the township to address the emergency as efficiently as possible and as soon as practical return to the normal operating conditions of the agreement. So I'm going to now read the last sentences.
And for the record, I was okay with all of that.
Right. These are the next two sentences that were I think that were the concern. Prior to instituting any changes to the terms of the agreement, the township will meet with union officials to explain the situation and the measures being taken by the township. Union officials will be readily available to meet in the event of an emergency. So that's the entire paragraph.
Okay, and I
With
think-
new language.
Yeah, I think the crux of this is the subcontracting limitations. Because I think, this is mine, have been involved in union stuff before. The union officials will be readily available to meet with the event of emergency because of the subcontracting limitation, subcontracting. In other words, I'm sure the union doesn't want it where the township can just call in subcontractors without calling them out first.
If it's a matter of life and property, which is stated in the first part of the paragraph, you're saying you want the union notified first. That's what, you can't have both. You can't have the beginning and have a priority being saving life and property, and then have at the end, the last two lines say, but at first, we're going to contact the union and inform them of why we're bending the rules temporarily. You can't have both.
No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, I think that the union deserves the right to be called out prior to us going to any subcontracting.
Well, we have, and I would agree, because the way the agreement reads, currently, we're able to utilize subcontractors for jobs. The way we do it is, we have everybody working, we wouldn't tell our employees to stay home, and then call contractors. And I think they realize, I believe they realize in an event like this, we need more people, not less people, so we're not going to do that. I think the biggest benefit we get is scheduling and job assignment. Because scheduling allows us to change the schedule and say, we're going to start every day at noon. I'm not sure why we do that, but maybe we would. Or we're going to work 7 days a week. I don't really know. But to have flexibility in the schedule would be good. And also job assignment. You can tell anybody to do anything and say, look, regardless of your code 4, you're the equipment operator, we need someone else to do that thing. We don't really need to explain why or worry about having a grievance filed. We would just, the goal would be to get the job done. So those to me are like the biggest things we get. The existing language in the contract already lets the director and the assistant director work. It provides them an emergency. They can in essence become workers, laborers, and help, which is good language that's already in there. So it gives us a little bit. This just gave us a little bit more. If we don't have it, we don't have it. My goal probably still would be to get the job done.
Oh, absolutely, in case of an
And we would
emergency.
deal with the aftermath afterwards.
So then we
John?
shouldn't really have in there that we're gonna meet with the union officials and that before we do any of this.
First, excuse me, Dwayne, if there's emergency, we call out the emergency management coordinator, and he does his thing and starts initiating, different, police are already notified in the road department. They do their thing, how they have to do it. Notify John, notify Tony, so on and so forth, the rest of the board, and they initiate, the calls anyways for emergency. God forbid if we have a tornado, let's say, and emergency management team is in charge along with John and Tony.
Okay, and I'm aware with emergencies, the way it works and everything, I just don't understand why then we're gonna stop everything and meet with the union officials. I'd be fine with taking that section out.
Well, here's the thing about meeting with the union officials. It's gonna happen anyways. If you're calling them out, you're not just to call them out and go do your thing. There's gonna be a meeting. More than likely, if it's that big of an emergency, there's gonna be an EOC set up down with Gene Coleman or Emergency Management. All the heads are probably gonna end up down there meeting anyways. So I don't think but it doesn't need to be in there because it's gonna happen regardless. So you're gonna have representatives from all the entities involved here, whether they're township entities or county entities, they're all gonna meet to determine a plan of action and to put that plan of action into operation.
Well, that should give, I agree with you, Joe, and that should give some comfort level to the union, that they're gonna be notified, that nobody's gonna abuse this privilege, that it would, in the event of an emergency, that they will know about it. Like you said, they may be involved. Why do we need to mandate it in there? Because just in case those people aren't in the EOC, or they aren't here, because maybe that emergency involves family members for them, that they're somewhere else taking care of that instead of looking out for the rest of the township at the moment. You can't mandate them be available and promise to meet with them beforehand.
Agreed.
Correct.
Absolutely.
I agree, and I'm trying to say that this is what should have been explained to the union at the negotiation. I know I said to John, at least in an email or somewhere along the line, maybe somebody just needs to explain it to them clearly. And that doesn't seem to have happened with the meeting that went on. I mean, if it's explained to them clearly, like you just said, and like Dwayne just said, and I don't think it should be an issue. If it is, let them vote on it again. I mean, either whether it is or not, they should vote on it with that provision for emergency preparedness, whatever you want to call it, as John put forth in there, minus the requirement to meet with them and then be available for the meeting.
I believe when we agreed on the contract, that wasn't even in there, so I think we should vote on it the way it was originally, because I don't think that was part of the contract that we talked about. So, as far as that goes, I think it should be excluded. Let's vote on
It was in the contract that was given to us to vote on in December.
Correct.
Yeah, we're here.
So you can't go back a couple versions and say, I don't want to vote on that one, unless it goes back to negotiation.
it. Okay, I made a motion to take it out, so we can just go from there.
I may still be missing something here. I thought when we had the last meeting, that it was tabled to go back to the union.
It was.
Was it taken back to the union and did they agree to any of this?
It was sent to them, but I don't believe, well, it was sent to them. What sort of, where they went with it from there, I can't tell you for sure.
What was sent to strike the last two lines of every paragraph?
That was the same thing that was sent to you. You all received the exact same information. It was the exact same information.
So no formal negotiation took place. There was just a little sidebar meeting, which is going, this kind of stuff is going on all year. And here's where we are because of it.
I got a question, can I ask a question to Gary? Gary, were you on the negotiating committee?
I have no comment.
Okay.
John, do you know if the union voted on it?
I don't, I'm not sure what they did, what I was going for.
Have you guys voted on
I'm not sure they're gonna answer you, Bruce.
it?
The
Do you want to
contract
get a
is
deal,
done,
Mr.
Mr. Dice.
You don't want to get a deal?
We're not the officials of our union.
I'm just asking you, you took a vote.
I wasn't present.
You haven't voted.
I was not present.
That means you didn't vote.
I did not.
Okay.
Don't say the rest of the union body did or didn't.
I don't know what the mystery is.
I said I was not present at the meeting, the union meeting, when they did what they did. I was out of town. That's what I'm telling you.
Okay, was anybody here from the union there at the meeting? How do you guys voted? Who did you talk to? LeVon?
That's who I sent the information to.
And what kind of response did you get?
Well, after I sent it, I was gone myself for 4 or 5 days. This wasn't the most opportune time.
Yeah, I know you're sick.
So we don't even know if the union agreed to it.
Well, no, if they would have agreed to this, I would have known.
How do you know?
Because they would have said,
Maybe they're gonna tell you it's no comment.
well, that's these folks.
Yeah.
There's other people here
Well, they
that,
were on the team.
no, not all, no.
I see some faces, I saw.
Some were, but some weren't. So not everybody sitting here in the audience was part of the negotiating committee. So it's possible that they had another meeting. That I can't tell you for certain.
It's possible they didn't.
Correct. So, but if it was voted on, it was forwarded. If it was something they voted on and were comfortable with, they would have come back and said, we voted on it and we approved it.
So then that infers that they have not voted on it yet. Because you have not gotten notice from them that they have approved this.
Or they're not interested in it. We
They either
can't,
approve the contract or they don't, right?
they already did approve a version of the contract.
And that version had what in it?
It had the language you're looking at it. It's the contract that the board has.
The entire paragraph.
Correct. They've already voted on a contract.
That's what I was trying to get at, all right.
So I don't.
It was after that I had an issue with those 2 lines, because I think like Dave said, I don't believe that was in there originally. I don't recall seeing that in the final draft maybe that we got.
Everything that's in red is the new language.
Right.
But that's what the union voted on, to the best of my knowledge. That's the contract that.
And that's what you sent us as the final
Right.
draft, this is what they voted on, or
Right.
maybe you sent that, did you send that to us before or after they voted on it?
Afterwards.
Yeah.
It was after.
After they voted on it, so I think that was the first time I had seen that language.
Right.
Because I would have objected earlier to it. So-
Yeah.
So, at December's meeting, I raised that objection, and
Right. Right. After they voted in November, whenever I sent it to you guys a week or so later, whenever it was, that's the first time you would have seen a lot of the language. The specifics.
Let's just see if we got it right. I'm just talking about this paragraph. You sent them a contract with that paragraph minus those 2 sentences, right? That was your proposal.
In essence.
Okay. They modify the paragraph, add 2 sentences to it, and then vote on it? And we don't have anything to say. Right? Do we go back to them and say, no, we didn't want that?
I don't think you have that right. I think John sent them, right, correct me, John, you sent them what you sent us.
Right.
Which is the language in it.
Right.
And you sent it to the union first, before we got our copy emailed to us after they voted on it.
Correct. That's right.
Yeah, so they saw the whole thing with the new language, the union
Put the
did.
new language in
John.
there. No, those last 2 sentences, he did.
Yeah, that whole,
Yes.
the whole thing.
Yeah.
Well,
Right, from a standpoint of talking about tentative language, this was it. This is what the union voted on. We could have voted first, they voted first. Either side could have voted on it. From a practical standpoint, I mean, we could have taken a straw vote, I guess, in executive session, but they voted prior to the commissioners voting, so the entire contract was then sent to the board for any concerns. So obviously, the commissioners have to vote. Both sides, both negotiating committees are looking to bring an agreement back to their body that they believe will be approved. or can be approved in some fashion. So I think that's what the union negotiating committee did with their employees, with their committee, and they did vote on it, approve it. And, you know, we had this one issue that's still outstanding.
John, I wanted to ask you, how many emergencies have we declared since you've been here?
1, 2, it's rare.
Okay.
It's a rare, a declared emergency, those are rare.
You know, declared emergency requires, you know, the government, the government to have something to say about it.
That was the flood in 2009.
Yeah, it's a rare occurrence.
State has-
We've had a couple of snow events and flood.
Yeah, it's rare.
Yeah, but not many. Two or three, maybe.
What I'm getting at is we've had that language did not exist in the previous contract.
Correct.
We were able to do what we needed to do.
We did.
And we did,
Well, I second Dave's motion to strike the whole paragraph from the contract.
You second, Wayne, or no? No.
I don't know, the township, I mean, I got a problem with if the union already voted on this, I don't know how we can take that out without going back to the
You know,
union.
I think that's a step that has to be,
Yeah.
If we want to take that out, it has to go back.
John, you've been back since.
Or if we wanted to take the last 2 sentences out, it would have to go back. And I think that's where Rick is saying.
Yeah, even if you want to take the whole thing out, you should have to go back to them. They voted on this.
Correct. There's no doubt. Either way, the whole paragraph of the last.
But if the entire paragraph comes out, I can't for the life of me think they wouldn't approve it. Because this is our proposal.
that's just supposition on our part.
Well-
It's gonna have to go back to the.
Agreed, but I would be about a 99.9% certainty that they're not gonna say, we want this language now. I don't know why you guys are trying to take it out. Because this does nothing for them. This does, not everything for us, but it's a township proposal. This does 0 for the union. But I would agree with that. If they would say, we need to vote again, they may say, we don't need to vote again. That was your proposal, you took it out. That's up to the union to determine how they would handle that. They're executive folks. They're a business agent. They would make that decision on whether they would have to have another vote or not. We don't get involved in their business.
John, since Tuesday, LeVon never said nothing to one way or the other. The union talked about it, or didn't talk about it, or?
Well, I think she met with Tony. And they talked about this provision, so I mean, you'd be better off talking to him about
But I don't
it than
believe,
me.
but I don't believe she went back to the union. And the discussion we had, so everybody understands, had to do with the last 2 sentences that Rich brought up with concern. And I expressed my concerns over the thing also. And it wasn't the whole paragraph, it was just the last 2 sentences. And I claimed her out. I shouldn't have to try to track down the union rep if I have an emergency in the township. That's what our discussion was on.
And what was her?
She said, well, being a union rep, she believes we should, and I'm saying, no, that's not how it works. We have to save, and we'll go back to save the lives and everything of the township. That's our job here as commissioners. I can't track down a union rep before I do something. It's either way, either we take out the whole paragraph, or we just delete the last 2 sentences.
but if we delete the whole paragraph, then you gave up what management gained in flexibility to deal with the emergency.
I just threw that out there.
Yeah,
okay?
well, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
let's look at it for what it is. If you throw the whole thing out, we got nothing. Management got nothing, John got nothing, Rich Albert got nothing to make their job easier to protect the public and deal with emergencies. John put that in there, I'm assuming for a good reason. I think he and I actually talked about it, or he said he went to a seminar and they had talked about some new language, right? Is that right?
That's accurate. It's accurate. A few
I
years ago.
mean, it seems to be the right thing to do.
I don't agree with that, but that's my opinion. I mean, I don't think we're looking to gain leverage on anybody or anything, you know, I mean, it's just what's best for the people of the township.
Yeah, and the
that's
best-
not best,
the best-
as far as I'm concerned, that's not best, that's just your opinion.
Yes, and I'm entitled to it just like you are.
Yes,
But I
I am.
would say most people would agree that being able to deal with an emergency involving life, safety, and property in the most expedient manner without having your hands tied by contract negotiation or by a contractual requirement would be in the best interest of the people.
I don't agree with you as far as emergency.
No matter what you go to do, if you couldn't strike the whole
Yeah.
thing, or if you couldn't strike two sentences,
You
it has to
have
go back to the
yeah,
union.
it has to go back to you.
So I think our job tonight is to decide what we want. You know, I'd be fine with striking the last two sentences.
Straight the last few lines. And it's, we're beating a dead horse here, Jeff.
Yeah, and ask them to,
And I'm
you know,
okay with
vote
that.
on that part. That's the only change we're looking at in the
Strike
contract.
the last few damn lines, let's take it back to the union, find out what their thoughts are, and then settle this. Because I'll be straight up honest with you, and this is just my opinion, because I have one too, just like everybody else. But I'll be damned if a document is gonna keep me from doing what I need to do to save people's lives. Regardless of what it says in there, whether those last two lines stay, whether the whole sentence goes, I don't give a rat's ass. Whatever needs to be done, I'm gonna do it, and I'll deal with it later. And I've done it before in the past, and guess what? I'm still here.
That's called inherent managerial prerogative. You have the right to do that.
It's called being a leader and moving forward what needs to be done.
Right, well, my opinion with the language that was in there, because I was okay with it, and I understand where Rich is coming from with his concerns. But I felt similar to you, Darrell, where you said, everybody's gonna be there anyway. So my
If he
opinion
is,
is,
set up and run right, absolutely.
the opportunity's going to be there to say to someone, hey, this isn't declared emergency, we're changing your schedule. I mean, I wanted to even change this language and say, you know, we can send an email. You know, if it's not a meeting, it's some sort of notice to the union, just let them know we're doing it. I wasn't concerned about that, but I understand if we don't have to provide any notice, that's even better. I get that, I understand that. But they're going to be here. I don't know how they're not gonna know what's going on, but I understand the concern that we use the word official. Who's an official? Is it the steward? Is it the president, the vice president, the business agent?
Like Darrell said, we're gonna do what we have to do.
Right.
He is, everybody on this board is gonna do. Rich is,
Exactly.
Albert's going to, you're going to, everybody's gonna do it.
Right.
What we're looking at for is why make it complicated later? Because we have people that like to make things complicated later and look back on it and go, well, you know, you didn't interpret this the right way and you were supposed to do that and we're gonna file agreement. And it just ties up everybody's time and nonsense. You know, common sense will prevail during an emergency, and we're gonna do what we have to do, everybody is. Why doesn't common sense apply on the other side to where, hey, they're gonna give us fair notice, if we're here, they're gonna say, hey, this is what we're doing. We're gonna know about it, it's not gonna be a secret, it's not gonna be taking advantage of somebody, it's not gonna be trying to get over on somebody. Why doesn't common sense apply there?
Well, we had a snowstorm last year and this language wasn't in there, so it didn't affect anything. And everything went fine, we got reimbursed and everybody did a good job and everybody was good to go. So, I mean, it wasn't even in there. So, I mean, what's the big deal? You know, we're gonna do what we have to do anyways.
Like Darrell said, we're beating a dead horse. I'm gonna make a motion to go back to the union. with
I have a
the-
motion already on the floor.
Oh, okay.
Well, I will withdraw that.
Can I motion to table again, and pending it going back to the union? I make a motion that it go back to the union with whatever, to table, that it goes back to the union with whatever Dwayne's gonna say right now. Well, I mean, so we know what we're going back.
I was gonna say.
You gotta withdraw.
Well, yeah,
that.
if you put the condition on there that until a certain time, it's,
Just let him go back with whatever it is he's gonna go back, because I think that's what he's gonna do.
okay.
Make your motion.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, to go back to the union, because it's gonna have to be voted on again, I think, anyway, and talk to them about taking out the last two sentences prior to instituting changes to aforementioned terms of the agreement, which is ridiculous anyway, because like we beat the horse here tonight, declare an emergency, you're not gonna take time to do that. And meet with the township officials to explain the situation and measures being taken by the township. Union officials will be readily available abrogate the amendment of emergency.
That's what you want us to take out.
That's what I would like to see taken.
I'll second that motion.
Is that the last two sentences?
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, the other part, you still need that in there, you still need it with the,
We understand.
I agree. I think, we need to have that flexibility.
Okay, so you have a motion and a second.
Discussion. We've done with discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, 6-0.
Motion to adjourn. Second.
All those in favor, all discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Meeting adjourned at 7:06.
And she looks up here now.